Truth brought to you by Progress Kentucky. Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for joining us this week. We've got some great news we're going to bring you. We have got breaking news from the legislature, some things they're up to. Got some MAGA famous individuals from Kentucky. And then we're going to be checking in with Lexington's Vice Mayor Dan Wu about some really interesting work they've done here in Lexington to help people retire medical debt. So kind of a cool interview. We've got a call to action, and we're gonna, I think actually through the course of this episode, I think we're gonna ask you to do three things. So, we're not just talking heads on the interwebs, people. We are a digital demonstration for a more responsive democracy. So do some things. Don't just listen. Don't just passively receive, but lean forward and help us make some changes in the state, because we really do need them, right? And we want to check in with you, make sure you're ready to help take Trump's power. We are sorely in need of significant political change here in Kentucky. For the next year, we are going to be focused on flipping the 6th district and key state house seats that are within that 16 county congressional district. We've got 4 great candidates running. A volunteer for Sherilyn just came to my door earlier today. Wet and dreary day, 6 months exactly to the day before the primary. So they're really getting into it. But Progress Kentucky is looking beyond the primary, working to shift the electorate who will ultimately show up next November. So it's a big job, going to take volunteers, time, and resources. We need your help. Progress Kentucky and our friends with Peaceful Bluegrass Resistance and the great advisory committee we put together had an amazing Flip the 6 campaign launch a week and a half ago or so at the Lexington West 6 Barrel Room. We had Silas House, we had Representative Adam Moore, PBR's Craig Blair, Celis Wilder, our own Annabelle Nagel, songs from NATO. Exciting, awesome event. Sold a bunch of T-shirts designed by our own Parker. Watch our website. I think we're going to be able to make those available soon. Signed up a bunch of new supporters. Thanks to everyone who, donated their time or their treasure. Also, amazing pizza from Dingbats. If you've not tried their Roman-style pizza, you should get over to Jefferson Street and try that stuff out. But the work really begins on the first Monday of the month. So that was just the big party. That was, throwing out the vision, bringing in some marquee speakers, some amazing music. Now the work begins. We're going to be getting together on the first Monday of the month. We're going to be back at the West 6 Bail Room on Monday, December 1st. We'll be there from 6 to 8 p.m. Basically a postcarding party, trying to reach out to the folks we need to encourage to become voters, check in with them, think about, ask them how they think things are going with our democracy, with our economy, how they think our political system is responding to their needs, which we don't think it's doing a great job of, honestly. And we were going to acknowledge that and ask them how we think we could do better. So that's happening. We'd love to have you there. We'd love to have you bring a roll of postcard stamps and a pen and be ready to handwrite some postcards to people in your community. We know these things can work. We're going to be getting folks engaged at the kind of most grassroots level in our neighborhoods, kind of neighbor to neighbor model. So that's happening again, December 1st. We've got a mobilize link in the comments. You can go ahead and click on that to register so we can know you're coming out and let us know what political precinct you're in so we can make sure we've got the right list of potential voters to share with you so you can help organize your community. So if you got a conflict Saturday, it's just too far to go, please make a monthly contribution via our secure online website, Act Blue, to help turn Kentucky purple. $6, $16, $600, whatever you can do. It all adds up, and we appreciate all of it. So that's my first big pitch. That's action number 1. And then we're now excited. I'm excited now to be checking in with our co-hosts and let us know who you are, where you are, and who is on your biting list this week. I'm Aaron, coming to you from Childsburg in Lexington. My biting list includes State Senator Steve Rawlings from Burlington, Kentucky. Watch this space. I will let you know why he's on my biting list when I get to my story of the week. All right, so let's check in. Nate, are you there?
I'm here. Hey, thanks so much, Aaron. So good to see you and Kimberly. And so this is Nate Orshan coming live and direct from South Frankfort. I guess this week on my biting list is going to be Mr. Nick Sorter. and I'll be talking about him shortly as well. But suffice it to say, he's worthy of a little bit of biting. So
nice, Nick Shorter. Let's find out why soon. Kim, you there?
I sure am. I am here. And on my biting list is Christy Noem. I guess you pronounce her last name that way. Everybody else knows her as the Ice Barbie. She's on the biting list today because she is going to send hundreds of Border Patrol goons to go out there and meet Trump's quotas on ICE.
Oh, yeah. Christy Noem, horrible individual. Ice Barbie. Did anyone see the South Park focused on her?
No.
Oh, you need to check that out. You really do need to check it out. They have, South Park, I think, equal opportunity offender. They will go over it after anyone they think is getting too big for the riches. And so they have been having a field day with Trump 2.0. They have really been just eviscerating those. And I think the Ice Barbie, Christy Noem one is especially painful and hilarious. And I just recommend it. If you've checked out of South Park watching recently, now's a good time to check that again. Is what I'm saying. All right, let's get into some news of the week, shall we? Let's do it. Where's our news of the week graphic? There it is. Love that thing. Telling you, if you're just listening to the podcast, you don't know why I'm so impressed. And I really shouldn't be that impressed, but it's, I guess low bar for entertainment.
Everything Parker does is impressive. Come on.
All right, Nate, I think you got this first story.
Yeah. So this one, this came out today in the Herald Leader from one of my favorite ever journalists, Austin Horn. And you'll see why this guy's on my biting list. So the story itself is called, he went from KY political unknown to MAGA fame. He faces jail if he returns home. Say what? Yeah, so this is a little bit of a story about this guy, Nick Sorter. He's a 27-year-old native Kentuckian, actually from Louisville. And over the past few years, he has built up quite a following on X. Apparently he's got more followers there than Ashley Judd and Governor Beshear put together and all this kind of stuff. Although let's just say that especially in the Elon Musk era, it's a little bit questionable as to how much of those followers are like human beings versus like bots. So because Elon has zero interest in weeding that kind of stuff out. But anyway, all that aside. So the guy's been making a name for himself in MAGA world. He was recently arrested in Oregon when he tore down some flags at a ICE protest, and he ended up bringing apparently a burned flag to President Trump in the White House. This is how big a deal this guy has become. So he's got the ear of the president. He's a big influencer, blah, 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 blah. Also, he's wanted in Kentucky. Apparently, he would be subject to arrest again if he showed up. Now, this isn't. He's actually had quite a few run-ins with the law in the bluegrass. According to Mr. Horn, he's been charged twice. Quote, convicted once for driving under the influence in Kentucky and arrested for menacing a police officer in downtown Lexington, and was put on probation after pleading guilty to criminal mischief for an incident with a woman who accused him of being violent, unquote. And that's the one that actually is got him in trouble with the law, because he pleaded down. For that one, there was a felony, and he got it down to, I don't know, some kind of misdemeanor. But there was still he basically fled. There's some question as to whether he knew, whether he was wanted or not. He tells Austin Horn that he wasn't aware, but it seems, if I was wanted, if there was a warrant out for my arrest, I would think I would know about it, and I would try to take care of it very quickly. So, not a nice guy, and certainly not a good role model for children. But this is why this guy is on my biting list, because Nick Sorter sort of fits in with this whole Trump administration milieu, right? Because the bottom line is they all think that they're above the law, that they can do whatever they want and they'll just get away with it. And this is a narrative that we can't let this thing keep going on. I'm so glad for the Herald Leader and Austin Horn sort of bringing it to light and, just showing that what a sort of not reputable guy this is. Mind you, it's not going to do anything with all the MAGA faithful who probably are, rah, rah, sis, boom, bah. But it just needs to be said that no one is above the law, whether you're a great influencer or even the president. And the law is going to find these people eventually, sooner or later. So that's what I got.
That's a good one. Yeah, I do love that, it doesn't really matter what Trump does at the federal level. He can't pardon people for state offenses and local offenses. So, they're not completely immune. But I do think it's just, as you said, Nate, super telling. It's 100% the attitude of these folks. I really hope, and I hope that everyone that's breaking the law right now, the folks who are just flushing our kind of legal, the blind legal system and our precedents like down the toilet at DOJ. I hope they realize that the worm's going to turn, right, and that what they are doing to normalize illegal and unethical federal prosecutions, that's not without that's not without repercussions either, right? So you hate to get in a position where it's like, some sort of banana republic where the new ruler comes in and holds the old ruler accountable and always puts them in jail or anything like that, right? But it's like also we have laws, and we need to make sure that our laws are actually being followed, without fear or favor. But I don't know. Good. Thanks for flagging that story, Nate. Kimberly, you got anything on that one? Kimberly Cecil Jones.
Yes, I was looking at the page. I couldn't click over, as you well know, to unmute myself. It just shows you that there's nothing surprising or shocking going on right now in the world, honestly. When troops are getting ready for boots on the ground and all this kind of stuff, and we don't know where we stand with Venezuela and so many other things, this particular story that Nate did a great job on tonight, I'm not shocked nor am I surprised about anything these days. So that's my take.
Yeah, no, it's hard to be shocked with this crowd, right? We've all had our kind of expectations eroded, and we don't really have high hopes for any of these folks whatsoever. All right, so I think I've got the next story. This one goes to the fine gentleman that's on my Biden list, and that is State Senator Steve Rawlings, who is a Republican from Burlington, Kentucky, because we've got our Burlington. It's not just Vermont that gets a Burlington. We've got one too. And so this is about Amendment 2, which everyone remembers. That was the effort statewide, an amendment looking to amend the state's constitution to allow for charter schools, which was rejected heartily at the ballot box. I think 65+% of folks came out strongly against it. This is in the sour grapes department, a Kentucky bill that could turn officials into felons for using public resources on ballot questions. A story that comes to us from Kentucky Public Radio, Sylvia Goodman, who does an amazing job. So after Kentucky school district officials spoke out against that constitutional amendment, the GOP lawmakers are now calling for criminal penalties, right? That law would have absolutely seen tax dollars taken from public schools to go to private schools, right? So that was like clearly not in the best interest of public schools. And these laws are already on the books to make it illegal for officials to use tax dollars to advocate for or against questions on the ballot. But after that contentious ballot question, had some school districts and public employees organizing against it, these GOP lawmakers are really annoyed that people dared to call out what they really wanted to do, right? So again, Why was that amendment on the ballot? That amendment was on the ballot because they had already tried, the GOP supermajority had already tried to create charter schools and had failed and run into our state constitution, which in plain language makes it very clear we can't put public dollars into private schools. So they were trying to rewrite the state constitution to allow it. The public wasn't falling for it, and they're annoyed, and now they're going to try to go after folks who dared to oppose their effort to defund public schools, right? So really horrible. Under this potential bill that was presented before an interim committee last week, any person who violates the section will be guilty of a Class D felony, which carries a 1 to 5 year prison term. Other examples of a Class D felony are third-degree rape, assault, and burglary. Conviction will also mean a person cannot enter public employment for the next decade in Kentucky. So yeah, this is Steve Rawlings, State Senator Steve Rawlings. Big idea. He thinks it's a great idea, and doesn't really specify who'd be restricted from using public resources on these advocacy, and whether it would apply only to public employees versus private citizens. When they asked him, he said, well, the intent of the bill is not to prohibit private citizens from using facilities like parks and libraries for politics, but we got to crack down on this stuff, basically. Twitter troll, State Representative TJ Roberts also really likes the bill and presented it alongside State Senator Rawlings. And said we should not be able to force people to finance our campaigns. Likewise, when it comes to advocacy in the public question sphere, the lobbying sphere, I think it's deeply immoral to ultimately say the public must be forced to advocate one way or the other when the public's not really unanimous on anything. Yeah, I just don't buy these arguments. They sound like garbage to me. And the idea that we shouldn't, have publicly financed political campaigns. Actually, a lot of states really like that. A lot of states have done that, and it has really decreased the political temperature and decreased the barriers to becoming a politician, where you don't have to have rich friends and rich industries backing your play. So, I actually challenge the initial assertion of TJ Roberts railing against the folks who dared to speak out against Amendment 2, even though they had the firsthand most information about how that amendment would have damaged their schools. So Pulaski County Schools, I think, was probably the strongest on it. They posted an image on our website and their Facebook page saying Amendment 2 would harm schools, explicitly saying vote no on Amendment 2. The Attorney General's office advised them that such use of social media violated the law. The school district superintendent said he would respect the decision, but he disagreed with it. I'm with you, buddy. And yeah, so really just kind of an ugly bill, looking to get their way, and not necessarily surprising about how the GOP supermajority rolls. We'll see what happens. Democrats, of course, appeared skeptical of the proposed legislation. Representative Matthew Lehman of Newport questioned why the bill expands the original law to include impartial advocacy. So even impartial advocacy would be banned under this law. He's saying impartiality applies to me. You're going to ask someone in an official position or a state position or a taxpayer-funded position, what's your professional opinion about the pluses and minuses of this constitutional ballot question, Lehman said. When do we allow or not allow people paid by the taxpayers to express factual opinions about policy, right? Really good one. I think it's a good point, a good question, and I like Matt Lehman's query there. So this is all of this, of course, is happening because people rose up and wanted to protect our public schools. That goes to what's actually happening this week. Protect Public Schools Kentucky has got an action week of action. So there's a petition. There's a call-in day. We've got a petition right now, which I encourage everyone to go ahead and click through and take action on. This will, of course, be the second thing I've asked you to take action on, and there's one more coming. But this is an amendment, or it's an effort to reinvest tax dollars into Kentucky's public schools because despite everyone rejecting Amendment 2, the efforts to defund public schools, right now, Protect Our Schools Kentucky is calling on the General Assembly to make a bold, common sense reinvestment. So instead of that, cutting our state income tax by 0.5 percentage point, they want to take that amount of tax cuts and put it actually into funding K through 12 education. So that's $718 million a year to K through 12 education. And so instead of giving that money to tax breaks for the wealthy, let's put that money where it helps every community. That's our public schools, smaller classes, more attention. It would be raising SEEK-based funding by 14%. So every student gets the time, the materials, and the opportunities they deserve. It would fully fund school transportation, which I think they're legally supposed to be doing, but they have not done it since 2004. And then increase the number of tools available for textbooks and for teacher training and for classroom technology. So really good stuff, really important stuff. Right now, Kentucky is 48th in starting teacher pay in the country. That's out of 50 states, folks. So 48th in starting teacher pay, 49th in support staff pay. So really not doing right by our teachers and our educators and our support staff. And, kids are hungry at school. This could give resources to make sure every kid can afford school lunch. Our state education funding is down 24% since 2008. So the gaps between poor and wealthy districts now exceed the levels that were ruled unconstitutional in 1989. Really, the $718 million is actually reasonable. I think it's about half of what we would need to do to get to the 2008 level funding. So it's not enough, but it's a good start. And it's exactly how much the state wants to cut income taxes by, which of course they are bound and determined to do no matter what, even if they don't hit their targets or their triggers. So I don't know. School, public education, we should fight for them. We're proud members of the Protect Our Schools Kentucky Coalition, encouraging everyone to take action. Nate, have you taken action?
I'm ready to take action. I mean, I'm always. Hey, I am
doing a show right now. What do you want me to do?
I am here for public education. I am here for teachers, and I am here for funding public education as much as we possibly can. So load it up. I hear the story, and all I can think of is like, these guys went so hard to try to get Amendment 2 passed, Ballot 2, whatever it was, and were rebuffed by the Kentuckians themselves. And now this is just, we're in sour grapes territory. It's like, What else can we do to try to punish teachers, to show them, how mean we truly are? It's so I guess this is just another example of why if you love education and you value teachers, please don't be voting Republican. Please don't be supporting these people, because they don't support public goods, and they ultimately don't support the public, really. Yeah. So
the point, they've shown us time and time again, right? They've shown us time and time again what their priorities are, and it's not public education. It's not teachers. Dr. Cecil Jones, what do you got on this one?
What can I really say? Except for what my son always says, it is what it is.
All right, you got a story for us, Kim?
I sure do, and you're not going to believe this. It's coming from Fox News.
What?
Yes, can you believe
it? Don't allow Fox News on this show. What are you talking about?
Well, when I see something that's true and right, I'm gonna, I'll give them kudos for today.
Right on.
So the Fox News poll has come out, and they have found what we always knew. Voters say that the White House is doing more harm than good on the economy. Wow. I guess they're in shock and just, hey. Most people are unhappy with the economy right now. The pain with prices. Most people are unsure about the Trump administration policies. So it all adds up to high disapproval among the president's loyal constituency. So there is a lot of shakeup going on with the MAGA. I was going to say MAGA nuts, but I mean the MAGAs, okay? Excuse me, Lord, for saying that. So here are the 6 takeaways from the latest Fox News national survey. They found out that 76% of voters view the economy negatively. That's worse than the 67% who felt that way in July, and the 70% who said the same at the end of former President Biden's term. So these large numbers overall and among Republicans say their cost for groceries, utilities, healthcare, and housing have gone up this year. So voters are primarily, even the MAGAs, are blaming the president. About twice as many say President Donald Trump, rather than Biden, is responsible for the current economy. And 3 times as many say Trump's economic policies have hurt them. Plus, the approval of how Trump is handling the economy hits a new low, and disapproval of his overall job performance, hitting records high among core supporters. So, after the government shut down, the GOP and the Democratic Party have lower numbers, of course. Roughly 6 in 10 say the president and lawmakers on both sides don't care about people like them. Then voters think Republicans have a better plan for border security, immigration, and crime, while voters see Democrats as better on affordability, wages, healthcare, and climate. Now, views are divided on Trump's peace deals, making the world safer, and the administration's strategy for dealing with alleged drug traffickers. So, Trump's job performance right now garners a career high disapproval among men, white voters, and those without a college degree. But 86% of Republicans approve, which is down from 92% in March. So we see right now that Trump, his numbers are lower than Biden's were at the end of his term. Then we see right here that 40% of voters rate their personal finances as excellent good, while 60% say only fair and poor, which is about where things stood a year ago. Ratings are notably bad, roughly 70% negative among non-college voters, Hispanics, Blacks, independents, and those under the age of 45. For those with household incomes below $50,000 a year, it's a full 79% rate that their finances are looked upon negatively by them. So even the MAGA are seeing that the president and his policies, this administration, is not for them. Sorry that it took almost a year for them to really start understanding this. And also, we've heard that Medicare is going to be going up for, so the increase that is rumored to come for Social Security will be eaten up alive by this Medicare rate hikes that we are very much not looking forward to in 2026. Back to you, Aaron.
Yeah. So when, I think, if you listen to those numbers, you certainly do see that the kind of MAGA regime is still pretty supported by the Republican voters, right? From going to like 92% support or 96% support to 86%. So it's a drop for sure. I mean, gravity still exists. And when you run on a campaign of reducing somebody's grocery bill and you don't actually reduce their grocery bill, I think people notice, right? So good to see that people are kind of waking up and blaming the right, character, because he's got all the power and he's got all the government behind him. He's got the Supreme Court. He's got both, houses of Congress, and they're all bending over backward to do whatever the heck he wants, basically, except we have to acknowledge we can't, do the show this week and not acknowledge that there has been, some significant GOP defections, and Northern Kentucky's man, Thomas Massie, got what he wanted and got a near unanimous vote of the House of Representatives to release the Epstein files. The Supreme Court, or the Senate went right along with it. And it is, and I think Trump's going to sign it because he decided he needed to get in front of the parade and he saw where it was headed. And say what you will about Thomas Massie, but this would not have happened but for his commitment to kind of holding the line on this. I don't know. You guys saw all that news, I'm assuming?
Oh, yeah. It's I mean, you know, he's sort of known for being stubborn, right? So it's on brand for him. But give him credit where credit's due. He did, like you said, he stuck with it, and he was right for doing so. So, you know, not a fan of the man whom I have called the murder muppet for his holiday cards with its whole family brandishing, you know, automatic, semi-automatic weapons and whatnot. But he was on the right side on this one. And can we just say that for Democrats, you know, it couldn't be clearer the issues that they need to be beating into the voters' heads. Well, you know, educating them, you know, that all these pocketbook issues are the ones that they will do a better job on, and they can, and they have in the past. Although, you know, I know there's some talk about what's the word I'm looking for? Inflation during the Biden administration, yada, yada, yada. But, you know, I think this is going to be a winner is to run on these exact issues.
Yeah, no, I think Trump doesn't want to hear about the affordability because, you know, and he brought the inflation down. He says all these things that, you know, he says it, but people aren't feeling it. Right. Which I think is exactly the same problem that, you know, that Biden ran into, except for Biden's policies. You know, we're absolutely working to try to make things better, you know, and they're making investments in our manufacturing sector to try to create more jobs. And, you know, it was like just a kind of slow process to get some of that stuff underway. Trump comes in immediately, does like these crazy tariff wars and, you know, gets into trade wars and shuts down really important markets for our farmers and for our goods, you know, our bourbon getting ripped off of shelves in Canada. And, you know, just like all this stuff that's like chaos and destruction, and, you know, no one likes chaos, and it's not helping the economy. So yeah, hopefully Democrats can kind of fashion together a clear message of how they would be different. Of course, it's easier to run when they, you know, against the status quo or the current situation when the situation sucks. And right now it is really like affordability is a crisis for a lot of people on a lot of levels. And they better have some solutions, but obviously they can't really deliver on any solutions unless they get, you know, full control of Congress, and, you know, they'd have to, of course, have an executive that's able to meet them halfway. And what we've seen through that government shutdown is Trump has zero interest in working with the other party whatsoever. So, you know, but if he continues to screw things up, then at least it makes it an easier swap. Eventually, like 2 years more down the road, I suppose. But I don't know. Interesting news, federal news. Thanks for sharing that federal poll about how people are viewing things right now. Kimberly, any other thoughts about our news roundup before we move on?
Nope. I was like, somebody's got to say something. Okay, yeah. No.
Just a whole lot of schadenfreude for the Republicans.
Well, I think we're just like, we knew these things that we're reporting on today, basically, but when you speak them, when words come forth out of your mouth and you rehear it, right, for yourself, you're just like, man. All you can do is just shake your head and report on the facts, and that's about all we can do. Hopefully, maybe down the road, I can teach us a couple of self-care things, because we really need it now.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, so I think now we're going to move into our interview. We have got, I talked earlier today with Lexington Vice Mayor Dan Wu about some really interesting stuff that they're doing under his leadership around medical debt. So let's go ahead and roll that interview, Parker. Excited to be joined this week by Vice Mayor Dan Wu. If you were at our No Kings rally, you might have heard Vice Mayor Wu share his personal story about immigration, and really, I think, just a powerful, moving story. So wanted to say thanks for having him join us at No Kings and hear what he's working on now. So how are you doing, Vice Mayor Wu?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Sure thing. So yeah, you'd reached out about some work you guys were doing at the council, and then I saw it all over the media too. I'm like, oh, this seems really cool. So like, what's going on with medical debt in Lexington?
Yeah, So medical debt is a huge issue nationwide. It's a huge issue statewide. Kentucky, sadly, is one of the poorest and sickest states in the nation. And medical debt accounts for more personal debt than credit card debt, than student loan debt, than all other kinds of consumer debt combined. So it's a huge burden on people. And not only are people, financially burdened by it, it's a mental health issue. It's a physical health issue because a lot of folks aren't seeking medical care because they owe medical debt. So I learned about the idea of medical debt relief a few years ago when I first took office, and I've been looking into it ever since, and it's been a nearly 3-year journey. We partnered with an organization called Unpaid Medical Debt, who is a national nonprofit with 11 years of experience in purchasing and then abolishing or eliminating debt for patients. So last year, during our fund balance conversation about a year ago, I proposed putting $1 million of our city's money towards medical debt relief. The council approved it unanimously. We went into contract with Undo Medical Debt earlier this summer. And this week, we just announced that we are relieving $12.6 million worth of unpaid medical debt, affecting almost 6,500 Lexington, Fayette County residents. So it's big.
That's amazing. So over 6,000 Lexington residents are getting their medical debt just completely canceled by that investment from the city funds.
Yeah, absolutely. And the best thing about that, the way medical debt and medical debt purchasing works is you can get about 100 to 1 on your money. So with that $1 million investment, our ultimate goal is to use it all up and relieve about $90 million worth of medical debt in Fayette County. So while $12.6 million is a big figure, it's nothing to sneeze at, but we're really just getting started.
That's amazing. And so how does that work? Do people need to opt into this program? Do they need to say, hey, Vice Mayor Wu, I've got some medical debt staring down my back that I'd love for you to take a look at? Or how does this happen?
Yeah. So there is no enrollment. It's not something you apply for. So the way it works basically is Undo Medical Debt will begin contact and negotiations with major hospital systems, doctors groups, clinics, even folks on the secondary market. So we know here in Lexington, we have the big three, which is UK, St. Joe, and Baptist. So they will be getting in contact with all the players and then basically begin negotiations to say, how much qualifying debt do you have that you can sell us, and negotiate those rates and buy it in bulk. So the folks that are be getting letters this week in the mail, it'll be a complete surprise. It's not something you had to apply for. The thing that I'm going to caution people, two things. When you get this letter, it'll be from Undo Medical Debt. And when you open the letter, it will also have LFUCG's seal on it. It'll have my signature at the bottom, so you know it's the real deal. You don't have to do anything. Just keep the letter for your records in case folks are still trying to collect on that debt or if there's some issue with it. Just keep that letter for your records. For those people not receiving these letters, we've already started getting questions about well, how do I know if my debt's going to be relieved or can I apply for it? So unfortunately, you just kind of have to wait and see what debt gets bought in the next couple of years. We have a 3-year contract with Undo Medical Debt. So sometimes these negotiations take longer. So we may see another wave of debt relief in a month. We may see another debt relief wave in a year. It's not something we have any control over, but my hope is that there'll be more to come.
That's amazing. And, I think so well timed as we're having this conversation kind of at the national level, really about the affordability of medical care and the cuts that are, kind of looming for Medicaid, the threat to rural hospitals across our commonwealth. I think 35 of them now are kind of under threat of closure because of the changes they've made at the federal level. How do you view this effort in that kind of larger conversation?
Yeah. So two things. With so much chaos and undependability, and I'm being generous here, at the federal level, it is absolutely incumbent for us on the local level to do absolutely everything we can to kind of relieve some of these pressures and bring some benefit to people. On that larger point about rural hospitals being closed all over Kentucky, in the meantime, Lexington is building Baptist just built a whole new facility over there near the interstate, near Hamburg. UK Healthcare is about to build their facility out there. We've always been a hub for healthcare in central Kentucky, but especially now with all these closures, more and more we're going to see folks from surrounding counties coming to us for service. So if we can be the hub for healthcare in central Kentucky, I think we can also be a hub and a leader and an example for surrounding communities to be, in the business of debt relief. I would love to hear from people from other jurisdictions and cities and counties coming to us in the coming years to say, hey, how did you do this? How does this work? What kind of return on investment are you getting on your money? I think we have a real opportunity to be a leader in the region on this.
So you do think this is something, it's like a model that you're developing. Have you heard of other cities doing this work?
Yeah, so we are, I think, the 24th government to do this kind of relief. Other folks on the city and state and county level have done it, but this is still pretty new. When I talk to people about it, a lot of people have never heard of this thing. So, 24th in the nation, I would still definitely consider us a leader in this.
There's a lot of cities out there. Yeah, it's a big list of cities. That's exciting. And then are there other things you've thought about in terms of, medical affordability? Because it really does just seems like people are getting crushed, right, by the cost, and they're having to make real choices about food, electricity, shelter, medical, and I think obviously the local government, I think you and I have talked about in the past, like the local government touches people's lives probably more directly and more frequently than, state or federal government. But doesn't necessarily always have as many kind of levers and tools that some of these other entities do. Do you have other thoughts about how, you can help people meet their kind of basic needs?
Yeah, that's a huge issue, and that's a huge topic. And you're absolutely right. We're very often limited in our ability to do things, especially legislatively, when the city's priorities may not align with the state's priorities or the federal priorities. I think we just find every avenue and every tool that we can apply to it. The reason that medical debt relief was so attractive to me is because we get 100 to 1 on our money. Now, where else in government work can you get that kind of return on investment, right? If you had told me, years ago that for every dollar you spend, you can only buy $1 of medical debt, I wouldn't have proposed this. I wouldn't have done it. We can't afford to do it, right? We don't have $90 million to throw at the problem at Fayette County, but we certainly have $1 million that can get us a $90 million return on it. So I think for us is just being really creative and being really strategic and finding all the different ways that we can help, instead of sitting around being frustrated at either Washington or Frankfort about all the things we can't do. Let's find all the levers that we can use.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And in case folks didn't, I mentioned in my opening, but in case folks didn't make it to know Kings, I just want to reassert that I think what you shared with the crowd there was so powerful. And I know that we were, in terms of turnout, we had thousands of people that I don't think could even hear the speakers, because the bottom half of that entire plaza was pretty close to full, and they just really couldn't hear it. Anything you want to just recap? I think you did a really good job of just contextualizing how important it is that we push back on some of these horrible federal programs that are happening right now with ICE and with the Border Patrol. As we're seeing other cities just really being ripped apart because of these aggressive efforts to try to get rid of what seems to be just brown people, right? And how do you look at that as a local leader and as an immigrant?
Yeah, when I was thinking about my remarks at No Kings, I was really reflecting on, I think my first draft had a lot of statistics in it, had a lot of numbers. And I think sometimes we fall back on those to talk about the scale of these problems, how many people are being, deported, or how much economic impact is it having on our state, et cetera. And then I kind of scratched, threw that draft out and kind of thought about my own personal story. And that's kind of what informed my remarks, thinking about the fact that my family and I came here 40 years ago. And this is a talking point that you often hear from folks as they say, well, if you're going to come into this country, do it the right way, right? And my family and I did it the right way 40 years ago, and it was still long and difficult and expensive. Today, that path that we went through 40 years ago doesn't exist anymore. All these paths, at best, are convoluted, incredibly expensive, hard to navigate, and with no guarantees of success. Now what's happening is you are pulling people out of the legal process. People are being detained and arrested and deported from courthouses. I mean, if you're a person trying to dodge the system, you're not showing up at the courthouse. These are people trying to get their status. Those are people being pulled out of the system right now. So we are literally, this government is creating more undocumented folks, which is really the opposite of what they say that they're trying to do. It's really hard when you watch the news to see this happening all over the country, to feel very helpless about it. But I think, we've seen some good examples from different cities around the country where people are pushing back, not just city governments or local legislators, but people. We've seen people go out on the street and sort of monitor their neighborhoods and stand between ICE or DHS and their vulnerable neighbors. People are really stepping up. People are, there are these, call systems where people are updating each other on what's going on. There's legal aid, popping out of nowhere. There's a lot of mutual aid that's helping folks who are suffering economically, because a lot of these families, breadwinners, are being pulled out of workplaces and being sent away. So it's such a huge problem. I'm very grateful so far that Lexington hasn't been a huge target of these kind of things, but I'm really kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. I don't know how all this extra funding for ICE recruitment is going to play out. It looks like a hot mess so far, but I don't know. Them putting, I think they doubled or quadrupled ICE funding. So I don't know what the next year or two will look like. Will there be enough capacity from these agencies to suddenly start swooping in on our sort of medium-sized cities like Lexington? I don't know what that looks like. What I can commit to as a leader here is I'm here to do the most good for the most people in Lexington, and I'm here to direct our resources, like with medical debt relief, like with the food insecurity extra funding that I proposed yesterday. We're here to direct our resources towards our most vulnerable populations. And so if our most vulnerable populations are being threatened, it is absolutely our job to protect them.
Yeah, that's good to hear. And I know that it's certainly it's a tough spot because this is a federal administration that clearly thinks about enemies, friends and enemies, and you don't want to put yourself unnecessarily on the enemies list. But I also feel like, we have to push back on authoritarianism. And that's 100% what's happening right now. I don't know how this all kind of plays out. He's clearly got his list of cities, but it seems almost random which cities he's picking kind of next up, like New Orleans, Memphis. Like it just seems, Charlotte. I don't know. So does the fact that Andy Bashir is clearly running for president, does that mean we're higher up on the list of potential cities? But then it's Louisville because that's the one that they, the scary, brown people are there, right? I just think it's like a super simple, horrible, ugly way of assessing our political landscape and the needs of our people.
And being aware of that too. And I really want to say this, and I really want people to understand this. There is a difference between, especially as elected leaders, there's a difference between what we're doing for our community and what we're saying. And we're in an environment now that what we say on mic can potentially do more damage to our communities because of the focus or the targeting that we may get from folks who disagree with us, who decide that they want to punish us for saying those kind of words. So I am focused on doing stuff. And some of the things that we do, you may not even know about or hear about. But I'm so much more focused on doing than saying. I struggled a little bit with the decision about whether or not to speak at No Kings for that very reason, because I wasn't going up there just as a regular resident or as a immigrant advocate or anything like that. I'm going up as a representative of the city, right? And I kind of framed my remarks in that way. They were not policy based. And so I'm trying to be cautious. I don't want to ever be, I'd have Lexington be targeted by these terrible policies because I've been running my mouth all week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a very delicate balance for us elected leaders. And I think if you're able to build relationships with us and have private conversations with us, these are things that we can tell you. But if you are asking, for example, for us to go on mic and say these more strident sort of oppositional things, I don't think you'll find us doing that. And it's not because of lack of political courage.
Yeah. All right. So not going to get anything that we can clip and get show on Fox News later. Good to know. All right. So Vice Mayor, one final thing that kind of caught my eye as I was thinking about having a conversation with you. Seems like there's a lot of conversation about a new city hall. What is going on with that? Obviously, I've been to City Hall. It does not feel purpose-built. It feels like, what are we doing in this space? But, obviously, as you know, there's lots and lots of needs for Lexington's, most vulnerable people. And I know the most vulnerable people are folks who come to City Hall a lot, right? So, how are you balancing the challenge here?
Yeah, balance is the right word. We have been in our current space at 200 East Main Street. That's a historic hotel. That used to be the Lafayette Hotel. It was not designed to be a workspace, an office space, or certainly a government center. We've been in there temporarily since the 80s, if that tells you anything. It was never supposed to be a permanent home for us. A new city hall, whether a renovation or building from scratch or renovating another existing building downtown, is so difficult finding the real estate and then finding the money. It's a huge project. And various administrations and councils over the years, even decades, have attempted it and kind of not gotten it past the finish line. We are probably as close as we've ever been in the last couple of decades in inking something towards it. I very much take the kind of community pushback that we've gotten talking about priorities. Our job every single day is to figure out how to meet our needs and priorities based on a limited set of resources. We have to balance our budget. For every dollar we spend on issue A, we don't get to spend it on issue B. And so it's always that balance. There is never going to be a better time to do City Hall. And I don't mean that even in an advocacy sense. It's not going to get cheaper. That's for sure. And I don't think our finances or our fiscal situation will ever be better than it was in the last couple of years post-COVID because of all the ARPA money that we've been able to kind of to use. All of that is gone and being used up now. So we're back to kind of our regular sort of budget. We're kind of tightening our belts a little bit, but we still have the opportunity to do a City Hall. To those folks who talk about City Hall as like a luxury, I really want to dispel that. We are not trying to put up a bunch of gold leaf framed portraits of ourselves up on the walls. We're not building a giant, somebody literally compared it to, us building a giant ballroom. Like that is not at all.
Ballroom. There will be no ballroom.
There will be let's say this, I'll commit to there'll be no ballroom that's bigger than the rest of the government center. How about that? But no, all kidding aside, we're trying to create a workspace and a public engagement space that is more handicap accessible, which right now it is not, and a space that we can really work more efficiently in. We have millions and millions of dollars of deferred maintenance in that building. In the past 2 years, we just fixed our elevators, and I don't want to misquote here, but it was in the 7 figures to fix 3 elevators, right? It's a 100-plus-year-old building. So all the work that we constantly are putting into it. So I've been part of the RFP committee for kind of the search for the City Hall project. So I've been fairly involved in the process and really getting to see how much thought everybody's putting into it and really weighing the dollar signs of if we stay, because us staying is not free. Us staying, the default, the status quo does not come without costs. So what we're weighing is not everything is hunky-dory and we're at zero and now we suddenly have to spend all of this money. The status quo of where we're staying has costs, and we've weighed that against a new building. Now, anytime we do anything new like that, it's going to require an investment. We don't have the capital to full out buy it and own it in that way. Think about it like buying a house, right? How many of us can afford to buy a house for cash, right? That is the smartest thing to do financially because you're not paying interest over a number of years, right? So a $300,000 house, once you start, paying interest payments in your mortgage, is going to cost you way more than $300,000. But that's what everybody does because nobody has that kind of money. Yeah. The way we're looking at it right now is that $30 million is a potential down payment, essentially, towards our deal. It's a P3 deal, which means they essentially will own it for several decades, and then we'll own it towards the end, and we'll own all the improvements and stuff. So to be honest, I'm still conflicted about it. I agree. I think you can make the argument that there will always be other priorities other than a city hall. Yeah. But I think it's something that also needs to be done. For me, the ideal situation is if we can do all the things, if we're able to still fund and resource some of the other things we need, like a fire training center, for example, or either permanent homeless shelter, or just honestly, for me, I can get into a whole rabbit hole here about homelessness and housing. I would love for us to put more investment in housing in general, affordable housing specifically, and supportive affordable housing. I think we have put over the years a lot of money into Band-Aid solutions to homelessness, whether it's with shelters or services, but I think we need some permanent long-term solutions to reduce the number of unhoused.
And I know we're getting close to time, and we're going to need to let you go. But in terms of the city hall, what is what are you guys doing? Is there a public opportunity to weigh in on this process? I know it probably won't be a vote. We don't have city, kind of city referendum. But how do people engage, and what should they be looking for in terms of information coming their way?
So currently, based on the vote last night, the first reading and right now what we're voting on is basically to accept and move forward with negotiations with the builder. That first reading is going to happen tomorrow night. Let me not say tomorrow night. Let me say November 20th. Mm-hmm. And then the second reading will be at our meeting on December 2nd. So there'll be a couple of, week and a half, 2 weeks gap in there. We are obviously always receiving public comment through emails and phone calls. And there'll be an opportunity at both those meetings for people to speak with us about it. So it gives us a little more time to kind of take in public feedback. And the bulk of the pushback has simply been, we have other priorities.
Yeah. Right.
And that's not something we're not aware of.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it you're going to do a 50-year mortgage on this one? How are you looking at this, the timeline?
I don't want to misquote it, so I'll have to look that up for you.
We'll put some links in the show notes. Obviously, the 50-year mortgage is a joke. That's the Trump new proposal to save people's housing costs. But all right. So Vice Mayor Wu, always a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you for coming on and sharing this really important information, leadership you guys are showing, and medical debt and all the other issues that we're dealing with.
Can I give a quick plug relating to medical debt? If people want to find more information, you can go to lexingtonky.gov/medical debt relief.
Awesome. We'll put a link in the show notes as well. Thanks again, Vice Mayor Wu.
All right. Thank you, Aaron.
Bye. There was our conversation with Vice Mayor Dan Wu, thoughtful guy, thoughtful public servant. I do miss his noodles, if I'm being completely honest. Atomic Ramen Cafe. All right. So any thoughts about, that medical debt issue? Is that something you guys have been hearing about before, or I don't know.
Not that type of effort to relieve it. Certainly I know what a crisis it is. And I just, hats off to Vice Mayor Wu and all the other people who are behind this. This is real leadership.
Yeah. I will say this. He reached out to see if we wanted to chat a little bit about what they're doing there, and totally thought it would be a good call. But then the issue of the new city hall kind of exploded on social media. I'm like, ask him about that too while we
that was
chat. So yeah, I do appreciate Vice Mayor Wu, and I also the kind of level-headedness that he's thinking about his role and how you do the most good without necessarily drawing more ire from a federal administration that's clearly looking to pick fights with blue dots all across the country.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we're close to wrapping up the show. We got a couple more things we've got to do. Most importantly, get to that third call to action, because if you've been keeping track, we've asked you to do 3 things this week, and I hope you do them all. But as folks know, because the first thing we talked about was flipping the 6th district, right? That's right here in Lexington and the 15 surrounding counties. But we have a real shot at helping narrow the GOP hold on an already tightly divided Congress in a district just south of Kentucky. So there's a special election, which is going to be decided on December 2nd or by December 2nd. Early voting is actually happening right now. So this is a special election to replace the GOP rep who stepped down to spend time with his family. I don't know. It's an R+10 district, but we know that 10 points actually isn't that much right now, especially in a special election where there's like nothing else on the ballot and it's all about mobilizing your supporters. So we know that, looking at what happened, in the most recent election, the off-year elections, huge Democratic gains, huge pickups. They flipped, state house seats in Virginia no one was looking at. And so I think we could see something special and different happen here in this special election as well. We know and love this candidate. So Afton Ben was the Kentucky-Tennessee Indivisible organizer back in like 2019 and 2020, and when we first launched the Mitch McConnell Retirement Committee, she was the organizer we worked with, and she was smart and she was strategic and she was fun to work with. She then ran for the state house in a special election, won that special election. She's a social worker. She's a kick-ass organizer. She is exactly the kind of fighter we need in D.C. to push back against the Trump MAGA regime. So help us do that. Why don't you? Early voting has started. Like I said, we need to make sure voters know the race is happening. Join us in an indivisible phone bank. There are times happening. I'm actually going to call tomorrow evening from 6 to 7:30 p.m. They've got phone banks on Saturday, on Tuesday, on Monday. And of course, the election is next Tuesday. Is that right? Not next Tuesday, but on Tuesday, December 2nd. So lots of opportunity to spend some time having some phone calls, letting voters know what is happening. Because again, special elections can really creep up on people, and people might not even know it's happening. So it's not about persuading them that Afton's such a badass, we need her in DC. It's just making sure that they know that there's a chance to go support her. And this is like Nashville and I think Clarksville, and like it's a really big district. Like I said, it's a R+10 district, but I think what we've seen in earlier special elections is about a 10 to 15 point decrease in Republican turnout and Republican enthusiasm and Republican voting, because the MAGA shit show that's happening right now is not compelling for really anyone. So this is a chance for us to steal a seat, flip a seat, and make things a lot harder for little Mike Johnson in DC, which I feel like is worth an hour or 3 hours of our time. Don't you guys think so? Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So yeah, make some phone calls. I think we put that link in there. Do we put the link in the comments, Parker? We didn't put the link in the comments, Parker. Come on, Parker.
There it is.
There it is. It's in the link's in the comments, people. Go ahead and sign in. That's action number 3. All right. Kimberly, do you want to close us out?
I sure will. Tonight was a great night. That was a great interview, Aaron, by the way, with Vice Mayor Dan Wu. That was a very, very good interview. I learned a lot about him and about a lot of things that are going on in Lexington as well. Progress Kentucky is a nonprofit organization registered with the Kentucky Secretary of State and organized as a 501c4. We are affiliated with the Indivisible Project and Common Ground Kentucky Action, and we are also proud members of the Forward Kentucky Network. Progress Kentucky's goal is to educate, organize, increase voter turnout, and advance a progressive agenda through civic engagement. Please join us for our next show, which will be December the 3rd. That's right. We're taking Thanksgiving Eve off, but we will return on December the 3rd with friend of the show, State Senator Reggie Thomas, to discuss his committee's work on AI and how the state should be helping defend against The Matrix becoming a documentary. Production of episode 237 was by our very own Parker Williams, who is absolutely awesome. Nate Orshan wrote and performed our theme song. You can find more information and music at natosongs.com. Everybody do it with me, natosongs.com, N-A-T-O songs.com. And if you miss our weekly live stream on Facebook or YouTube audio podcast, and our show notes are always available on Apple, Spotify, and just about wherever you get your podcast. And when you do listen to the pod, please leave us a 5-star review wherever you are listening. Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. We really appreciate our viewers and our listeners. Please share this so everybody can get the information, and you have a good rest of your week.